What is up? What is up? What is up, awesome people of the internet? Guys, happy Friday, everybody. Happy Friday. Welcome to another edition of Awesome People of the Internet Friday Hangout. Thank you so much for joining. Guys, we got some stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk about, first, we're going to talk about the WNBA expanding. We were at 12. It was announced that we're going to 13 in 2025, and we're going to 14 now in 2026. And guys, we're going to talk about that announcement and how we got to the point where we're at right now for expansion for the WNBA. We're also going to talk about the series of cuts that happened today, where players getting waived from the WNBA. Also, guys, I will let you all know my predictions for likely every team in terms of who is going to make the roster, and just sort of giving you all a little bit more information about each of the various teams as we get into the start of the WNBA season on Wednesday, guys. So yeah, lots of stuff that we're gonna get into today. If you all can, as y'all are entering in, please hit that like button. That would be fan-freaking-tastic. Really does help the channel a lot. Yeah, so yeah, join me as we sort of walk through a whole bunch of stuff today. All right. So first things first. I do want to know how you all are doing today. Have you all had a fantastic week? I had a really great week. Really good week. Got my work done. Nothing crazy happened. So I'm very happy about this week, and I'm happy that the week is over. And yeah, I had some announcement that I made earlier today in the Patreon. And if you guys are not on Patreon, you won't be able to know the announcement until the 12th. I'll be announcing it on here. But the Patreon folks got the exclusive, got some big stuff happening with the channel. And I am very excited about it. So if you all want to know what's going on, if you're a Patreon member, go to Patreon and then you can see the news there. If not, just wait a little bit later and you'll see it announced here. Okay? All right. So, the first topic of conversation is going to be expansion. Because guys, we've talked about the fact that the WNBA needs to grow and how we want more teams and yada. That requires a lot of stuff, right? It requires a ownership group that wants to buy into the WNBA. It requires the WNBA believing that that city is ready to go for a WNBA team. And it also requires that just like financially, everything is all in order. And we have gotten to that point. And now the WNBA is set to announce. They haven't officially announced just yet, but they are set to announce a new team in Toronto. And guys, we're gonna get into this because Toronto was on the table before. It was taken off the table, and now it's back on. You all may remember a couple months ago on the channel, I talked about the WNBA looking into expanding to both Toronto and Denver, Colorado at the time. And, you know, negotiations happened and whatnot, and neither of those worked out, right? And so instead of going with 14 teams for 2025, the WNBA said, you know what? We're just going to go with that one team in the Bay Area for 2025, and we're going to wait our time and to see what other opportunities there are for us in the future. And they didn't have to wait long because Toronto, here the WNBA comes. So here's kind of the scoop about what's happening with Toronto, how Toronto got to this point, who are the key people that you all need to know about in terms of in terms of like the people who we should thank basically for us getting a WNBA team in Toronto. Okay. So, shout out to Shireen Ahmed for you know, putting this out there. So the WNBA has not officially announced this. Supposedly, the WNBA will be announcing this on May 23rd in Toronto. But there is a reporter who got the inside scoop about it early. And so that's how we got this story. So shout out to Shireen Ahmed. She works for CBC Sports in Canada. So shout out to her because, yeah, she's responsible for us getting this information about the WNBA. Okay, so let's talk about this Toronto. Let's talk about this Toronto thing. A couple of months ago, the WNBA was not able to secure a deal with getting a team in Toronto. We talked about the idea that the WNBA wanted to expand in Canada, and they have wanted to for a while, right? You have the Toronto Raptors for the NBA in Canada, and that's been going really well. They've had success there. The WNBA went to Toronto last preseason for a game. It was the Minnesota Lynx versus the Chicago Sky. That was a sold out game, and lots of fanfare was around that. The WNBA was just in Canada, not Toronto, but they were just in Canada a couple days ago for a game. It was the LA Sparks versus the Seattle Storm. That game was in Canada. 16,000 plus fans came out to watch that game happen. And it was just a lot of momentum around the WNBA and them expanding to Canada, right? 20,000 tickets sold at Scotiabank Arena, in 2023. You saw 16,000 fans come out to Edmonton last week to watch the game. So the fans are there, right? For expansion into Toronto. But a couple months ago, it was reported that Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment pulled out of negotiations with the WNBA. And Maple Leaf Entertainment Group, that's a multi-billion-dollar organization that owns the Toronto Raptors. They also own the Maple Leafs of the NHL. They also own Toronto FC of the MLS. Basically, anything related to sports in Toronto is done by the Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment Group. And things happened. That deal at the time got dropped. And there were lots of people who were trying to make that stuff happen. It didn't work out. But now it seems like everything has worked out, and we are seeing the fruits of the labor of a lot of people trying to make this thing work. So I do want to actually pull up the article that was written, and we're going to go through it because I thought it was pretty awesome. And again, shout out to the writer of this. Here we go. All right. Again, shout out to Shireen Ahmed for making this news available to everybody. I've seen a lot of people, a lot of sports media places, talking about this as a thing, but I don't really see anybody crediting the person who broke the story that everyone's talking about. So shout out to her for writing this article. So she says that expansion is happening, right? So there's a guy named Larry Tannenbaum. So Larry Tannenbaum is a very influential person in Canada. This guy, one, he's a billionaire. Two, he has a sports company that he runs. Three, he is a part owner of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment Group, which is the group that I was sort of talking about earlier, the group that this deal fell through with. He's a part of that. He's a minority owner of that. But he's a billionaire with a lot of money, and he wants really bad for the WNBA to come to Toronto. And according to the article, it says that the announcement is expected on May the 23rd in Toronto. Again, the team will be playing, as I mentioned, in 2026. So not in 2025. 2025, we will just see one team added to the WNBA, which is the Golden State Warriors team, name still TBD. But we will see this Toronto team expand in 2026. All right. Of course, the WNBA is not going to confirm this just yet because the WNBA wants to be the people who actually announced this. So likely we will not hear anything confirming this until May 23rd when the WNBA has their launch. It's a similar thing to when the WNBA expanded to Golden State, right? There was an article that came out beforehand about it, and the WNBA was like, "Mum's the word," until mums wasn't the word, and they announced it, right? So we're likely not going to see anything official from the WNBA until May 23rd when this thing is officially official. But the WNBA did say, we continue to engage in productive conversations with interested ownership groups in a number of markets, and the granting of any expansion teams require the votes of the WNBA and NBA boards of governors. All right. So that was their official statement, but yeah, it's likely happening. It's just that they want to be the ones who officially announce it, which makes sense, which makes a lot of sense. Then the article goes on to talk about some of the stuff I just mentioned about Larry Tenenbaum. He is a minority owner, and he's the chairman of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. Again, this team owns everything pretty much in the Toronto area when it comes to sports. Raptors, Toronto Football Club, the Argos, the Marlies, the Maple Leafs, like this group has a lock on Canadian sports. And he's, the older guy, 79 years old. He wanted this expansion. He was the guy who was trying to get the WNBA to expand into Toronto months ago. But the board members for Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, they turned him down. They said no. So it seems like he is doing this on his own. Larry Tenenbaum believes so much in the future of the WNBA and how successful it will be, them expanding to Toronto. He believes so much in that he's like, bet, okay, all right. Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, y'all don't want to, the board doesn't want to make this happen. Okay, well, I'll do it myself. I have a sports company myself called Kilmer Sports Inc. and I'm gonna do it myself. Okay, I got a lot of money, and we gonna make this stuff happen. So I shout out to Larry Tenenbaum. I think that's kind of cool. This is what he looks like. This is what he looks like. Then the article starts to talk about the WNBA expanding, right? You already talked about the Golden State Warriors team that was announced in April, and we're going to see a new team announced very soon in Toronto. The mayor of Toronto is pretty excited about it. She says, "Wait for it. Hopefully there will be something later on. Basketball is just great, and having role models, it's time. Hopefully there will be good news soon, and I can't wait for that to happen." I'm sure the mayor of Toronto actually knows that this is a thing, but of course, she can't preempt the announcement. She can't preempt the announcement, so that's a thing. So the arena is not big, so that is something to note, guys. That is not great about the expansion team. So according to this article, it says a source said the team would play at Coca-Cola Coliseum. Cool name, but this place only holds 8,000 people. It's an 8,000 seat arena. And it's on CNE grounds, which is right next to where the Marlies play. If you don't know, professional women's hockey is here. There's team in Canada. There's teams on the East Coast of America. Lots of excitement actually about the PWHL. I'm actually I like to check in and see what they're doing. So shout out to the players, the Marlies. But yeah, it's going to be right next to there. So it's kind of cool, right? You're going to have the WNBA team right next to the women's hockey team in terms of like where the arenas would be located. But the idea of an 8,000 seat arena is pretty small. And one of the reasons why the Maple Leafs Sports and Entertainment Group board, part of the reason why they voted against buying a WNBA franchise months ago is because of arena usage, right? Scotiabank Arena or the place where the Toronto Raptors play, that is a popular venue for the for Toronto in terms of lots of people coming through and having big concerts and all this other stuff. And the idea of having a WNBA team, have rights to a lot of games, in terms of timing and whatnot, that means they would have to say no to some of the concerts and some of the other stuff that brings the company a lot of money. So that's partially why they said no to the idea of the WNBA expanding to Toronto. That's partially why the board said no before. So because Scotiabank Arena, which is where the Toronto Raptors play, because Scotiabank Arena is not available, because that would have to be through the media group, not through Tannenbaum himself, they have to go to a smaller arena. And there's not that many huge arenas in the Toronto area. So Scotiabank Arena seats 19,000 fans. This Coca-Cola Arena only seats 8,000. So that's not great, right? That is not great at all. We talk about teams selling out, right? The Atlanta Dream has sold out a bunch of games already this season. We talk about the Dallas Wings sold out games as well. But their arenas are pretty small. The Washington Mystics sold out games, but there's a problem with growth of the WNBA because there are some teams that play in very, very small arenas. And the WNBA really needs to ensure that future teams are at larger places. Yes, 8,000 seat arena. It's bigger than the Mystics, bigger than it's bigger than the Dream, bigger than the Wings. Like, it's bigger than some WNBA teams, but 8,000 isn't huge. I think it's better than a 4,000 seat arena, but it's not huge. So not ideal in terms of an expansion location, but at this point, I guess they'll take it. Also, a thing to note also is that there's going to be a women's soccer league also coming to Toronto as well. So yeah, lots of stuff happening in Toronto. Lots of stuff. Yeah, I mean, here's some more information about this Kilmer Sports Inc., which is the company that Tannenbaum is in charge of, and he's the financier of. So they hired a soccer exec to lead the group. They also added Teresa Reich, who had a role at the Toronto Raptors. So I think that makes sense. They hired a Teresa, who was the vice president of basketball operations for the Raptors, I think, again, the fact that they hired her, it seems obvious that they're getting a WNBA team, because why would you hire somebody who has a ton of basketball specific operations experience if you're not going to get a WNBA team? So this is happening. This is not official just yet, but it is happening, and I very much am excited about it. So guys, I do want to see what you all think about expansion. What do y'all think? Let me know. Aiden says Drake getting roasted is also happening in Toronto. Okay. Phil says, I think the arena goes up to 8,500, but yeah, that's still not that big. Kai says, without Caitlin Clark, expansion is not an option. Fact check this troll. Kai, I would wager to say that clearly you don't think the WNBA has like you don't really follow the WNBA, clearly. Absolutely, Caitlin is a draw, absolutely. But the WNBA has expanded before. Like this isn't like a new thing. So, Caitlin Clark is not responsible for every single thing that happens in the WNBA. But yeah, sure, the extra attention absolutely for sure helps. But I also think expansion would be happening regardless. So. Victor says, what cities are next? Because I know the goal is 16 teams by 2028. Yep. That's the goal. We will see how long it takes to get there. But that truly is the goal for the WNBA. That's the goal that Kathy Engelbert has talked about. And I'll actually try to find a clip of her sort of talking about expansion, because I think that would be cool to sort of talk about. All right, I found it. Actually, she wants to go to 18 teams by 2028. But let me share with you all a clip of what Kathy Engelbert recently said. She said this at draft night. So let me pull up that clip so you all can hear from the commissioner herself. All right. All right, let's play it.
Our plan and goal is to get to 16 teams in the next few years. So we're at 13 with the Golden State team. Our plan is to get 3 more in the next few years. We're talking to a lot of different cities. I think I've thrown out names before. It's complex because you need arena and practice facility and player housing and all the things. You need committed long-term ownership groups. And so the nice thing is we're getting a lot of calls. We continue to engage with cities. I'll throw some of those out there because I've already thrown them out there. We continue to engage with cities like Philadelphia and Toronto and Portland and Denver and Nashville and South Florida and probably forgetting one.
Oh wait, I was playing the wrong
16 teams. There we go. Our plan and goal is to get to 16 teams in the next few years. So we're at 13 with the Golden State team. Our plan is to get 3 more in the next few years. We're talking to a lot of different cities. I think I've thrown out names before. It's complex because you need arena and practice facility and player housing and all the things. You need committed long-term ownership groups. And so the nice thing is we're getting a lot of calls. We continue to engage with cities. I'll throw some of those out there because I've already thrown them out there. We continue to engage with cities like Philadelphia and Toronto and Portland and Denver and Nashville and South Florida and probably forgetting one. But those are the cities we're talking to. But I mean, just last week we got 2 calls from 2 other cities, and these can either take a very long time to negotiate or can happen pretty quickly if you find the right ownership group with the right arena situation. So we're on our way to 16. That will add 48 roster spots in just a couple of years. That in a league of 144 is a lot, so that's 30%. And I think it'll be great when we get those done over the next couple of years. So 26 is definitely our goal for certainly the next one. And then shortly thereafter, if not then, or the year or 2 after. So by 28, I'd say I feel pretty confident we'll be at 16 teams.
All right, guys. That is what the commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, said at draft night. And guys, the expansion teams are happening. The expansion teams are happening. Kyra says, Philly next, please take my money. Well, for your sake, Kyra, and for a lot of other people's sakes, I really do hope that that Philadelphia gets a really good look, because there's a lot of people talking about how they want a team in Philadelphia. KA says, would love it here in Philly, but I don't know if our folks are ready to support. Fair enough. Kai says Caitlin 22 is her. I mean, Caitlin is her, absolutely. She'll be responsible for making a profit for the first time since 1997. You don't get it, Q. Caitlin makes the WNBA exciting. I mean, Caitlin does make the WNBA exciting. I don't disagree with you at all. The WNBA is a failure without her. No, disagree. All right, Guy. I love your enthusiasm. I love it. I think that's fantastic. Disagree with you on that one, but you know. Aiden says, are other WNBA owners going to be mad that there are so many billionaire owners coming to the WNBA? I mean, I think it makes it tough. I think it makes it really tough because when you have billionaire owners, they just have a lot of money to spend, a lot. Like you see Joe Tsai and what he has done. He's the owner of the Brooklyn Nets. He's the owner of the New York Liberty. You know, like the amenities and whatnot that they have. You look at the Las Vegas Aces. You know, built the practice facility, looks awesome and whatnot. Like owned by a billionaire. Seattle Storm, I don't believe they are owned by a billionaire, and they also did make a practice facility as well. So I think the idea that so many billionaires are coming into the WNBA, I think that's great. I think that really is fantastic. Mark Davis, Joe Tsai, others, what they're able to do, and sort of the pressure that they put on other people, on the other owners. But I will say this, like, I do like the fact that the WNBA owners, in large part, are pretty normal people. They're not like crazy billionaires. Like the NBA, basically all the owners in the NBA are billionaires. Like they are, because the NBA is just such a huge profit-making entity and whatnot, and that the only way you can own a team is for you to be filthy stinking rich. Whereas the WNBA, I feel like, does have a little bit more approachable owners, I would say, because they're millionaires. So to regular people, yes, they have a lot of money, but in comparison to the people who truly have a lot of money, they don't have a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's a difference, right? There's a difference in that, and you know, that having a billionaire owner means that you can have really, really awesome stuff. Awesome perks for players, awesome perks for fans. And then not having billionaire owners means that you don't get stuff as cool, right? Like the Las Vegas Aces, somebody shared their season ticket holder gift, and I was like, dude, that looks phenomenal. It was like a video thing. It was like a box, and you open it up, and a video played and whatnot. And I was like, wow, that's fantastic. But look at their owner. Like I'm gonna talk about the Sky again, but the Sky, one thing I like is that their owners are regular. Yes, they're millionaires, but like they're not filthy stinking rich. You know what I'm saying? And so I think it's an approachableness to it. Does that mean that the players get as many perks? No. Does that mean that the fans get as many cool stuff? No. But yeah, it's still cool though. I mean, it's still cool to have some teams not be owned by billionaires. Don KJB says there is a new 20,000 seater 10 minutes north of Toronto in Markham, built for a major NHL team plus basketball use as well. Toronto will be a destination for WNBA free agents. I do think Toronto is going to be a pretty big destination. Yep, I do think you're right on that. I do think you're right. Now, guys, just a quick WNBA check for y'all. We will be seeing the Sparks versus the Phoenix Mercury. That's going to be happening. Yes, it's going to be happening in not that many minutes from now. So we're gonna see an awesome game. I am very, very, very excited. I am very, very, very excited about that game. So I'll be watching that game in my periphery as we're sort of going through the stream, and I'll sort of narrate what's happening. Okay, I'll narrate what's happening. FM says Beyonce should bring the Houston Comets back. I mean, I'm in favor of that. I am very, very much in favor of that. Eddie says, did Orlando have a team at one time? Yeah, they did. Their team is now the Connecticut Sun. Yep. Well, actually, no. It was the Miami Soul. Orlando didn't have a team. It was Florida had a team. Miami Soul turned into the Connecticut Sun. Wait, no. Wait, hold on. I get all my teams all mixed up. I did a show specifically about the various teams and how they came to be. And I did talk about I did talk about, it was the Orlando Miracle. There we go. The Miami Soul was a WNBA team that did make it. But yeah, the Orlando Miracle did end up becoming the Connecticut Sun. So, but maybe they can get another team. Who knows? All right. Let's continue on. Talking about the WNBA. What's going on? Alyssa says Orlando Miracle went defunct. Miami Soul moved to Connecticut. So actually, that's incorrect. The Orlando Miracle actually ended up becoming the Connecticut Sun. So Orlando didn't want the Orlando men's team didn't want the team anymore. So the team was about to go under. But but, we saw Connecticut pick it up. The Mohegan tribe in Connecticut ended up picking up the Orlando Miracle. All right, and if you guys have like questions about that, I can actually share a link with you all to the WNBA website where it just sort of walks through that stuff. So on October the 21st, 2022, the Orlando Miracle announced that the team would relocate to another city to be announced in the 2023 season. That city was then announced, and it was now that Connecticut was going to have a WNBA team. So I'm gonna put in a link to the history of the Connecticut Sun. So hopefully that helps you. All right. Hopefully that is helpful. And I can actually just show it on my screen. So yeah, this is the history of the Connecticut Sun. They relocated. It would have made sense for the Miami Soul because their like logo was, you could see their logo kind of making sense into the current Connecticut logo. But yeah, and the team said they were going to relocate. January 2023, they announced the Mohegan Sun was going to buy the team. Okay. So hopefully that helps for some WNBA history. Also, a fun fact is that the WNBA has history pages, I believe, for all WNBA teams. And so, like, if you're ever curious about, like, oh, what's the history of this team? Like, the WNBA website probably has it, and you can, you get a download on what has generally happened for that particular team. Adrian says Toronto has a professional women's hockey team that is super popular. The WNBA can tap into that fan base. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that would be very, very smart for the WNBA to do, and I think that's something that the WNBA will do. That's something that they will do for sure. Because Tannenbaum, the guy who's going to be owning this team, Larry Tannenbaum, he also is a part of the group that owns the Marlies, which is the women's hockey team. Brenda says expansion is great for players, but I'm afraid people will get caught up in the hype, then lose interest. The same thing happened when the WNBA first started. You are right. Yes. And I think that's why it's a good thing that the WNBA is slow walking this, because the WNBA could have announced we could have six teams by now, but instead, when Kathy Engelberg got in, she took a deliberate approach. And again, guys, I am a big fan of hers. I think she has done a great job for the WNBA. Some of you all may disagree, but I truly think she's been great for the W in terms of like financially making sure that WNBA is in a pretty good place. And then slow walking expansion, right? I know we all want the WNBA to expand like really, really fast, but it's good to slow walk, because what you don't want to do, you don't want to expand into 16 teams like the WNBA used to have. WNBA used to have 16 teams, but the profitability wasn't there. Team owners was like, nah, this is a little bit too slow of growth for me. And so they bounced. And so the WNBA constricted. And now we're at 12 teams. We used to have 16. And so I think it's a good idea for the WNBA to slow walk this stuff. I know it's slow, and I know as fans sometimes we want it to be really fast, but at the same time, I like the fact that slow and methodical. Let's not expand too quickly. because you don't want to see this blow up in your face. All right. We have gotten to a point where you don't want any WNBA team now to go under. Right. So it's not about fast growth. It's not about that. It's about, slow and steady. Yeah. Phil, I completely agree. Yeah. Slow and steady wins the race. All right. Chelsea says if they expand it too fast, it could take other teams down with it and could be worse than they start. Yes, I agree with that. I agree with that because there's yeah. I do agree with that. All right. So I see a question in here. Question from Kim says, what is a rookie scale contract? Well, that is a fabulous question. Thank you so much for asking. And guys, if you all are ever curious about like a particular thing, let me know in the chat. If I see it, I will try my best to get that answer. So a rookie scaled contract is that is for any player in the WNBA who has never played in the WNBA before or has never signed a contract in the WNBA before. So this could be for a quote unquote traditional rookie, a rookie who just comes out of college, goes into the WNBA. They've never previously signed a contract with the WNBA or played in the WNBA, so they automatically get a rookie scale contract. This is the same thing for a player who came out of college, didn't get drafted into the WNBA, didn't make a training camp roster, didn't make any type of roster for the WNBA, went overseas for a couple years, then came and made a WNBA team. That would also be a rookie scale contract. The rookie scale contract doesn't matter about age. And that's something that I think can be confusing to some folks. It's not about age at all. It's about whether or not you signed a contract with the WNBA before. You are considered a rookie. Okay. So that's something to kind of think about. Also, there's a rookie scale contract means that there is a set salary based off of a scale. And a thing to note is that there is no guarantees when it comes to a rookie a salary for rookies because they can get cut. Okay, and so let's say a rookie comes into the WNBA, their rookie scale contract says that they're going to get paid $60,000 for that first year, and this is a hypothetical just to answer your question. But let's say $60,000. That's how much you're going to get paid for the first year for the rookie on this rookie scale contract. Let's say they get cut halfway through the season. It's not a guaranteed contract, which means that if they get cut halfway through the season, that means that they're only making $30,000. They're not making the 60 because they only played half of the season. Hopefully that makes sense. To explain it that way, but yeah, so it's not a guaranteed thing. So they only get paid for the amount of the season that they actually played, and that they're actually on the roster. So there is a scale that happens. So depending on where you've been picked in terms of the WNBA draft, that determines how much money you get paid. So for example, let's say, player, you are number 1 pick in the WNBA draft, Caitlin Clark, drafted in the WNBA, number 1 pick, $76,000 $28,535. That's how much is on the rookie scale contract for the number one pick. All right. So picks 1 through 4, and actually, guys, let me share a graphic with you all so you all can get an idea of a visual of what I am saying. All right, here we go. Now this is herhoopstats.com. Herhoopstats is truly a great resource. When you guys are looking to sort of supplement your knowledge about the WNBA, I highly recommend Herhoopstats. I think they're a great organization who puts out some great content about women's basketball that's very helpful. So again, you can see for the rookie scale for 2024, picks 1 through 4 are getting paid $76,535. All right, so that's picks 1 through 4 again. That's Rakia, that's Caitlin, that's Cameron, that's Camilla. Okay. Picks 5 through 8 are getting paid $73,000, and it sort of goes down the line from there. All right, 9 through 12. Second round, how much they get paid. Third round, how much they get paid for the first year, and then undrafted gets paid the same amount as third round. So that's how the scale works. Okay, that is how the scale works. And then as the players go on, they have 3 years, 3-year contract with a option for the team to pick up the fourth year. So that is something that the team decides. The team can decide to pick up that fourth year option for a player. And this is something that teams have done pretty regularly, I would say. That's not something that's unheard of at all in the league. So hopefully that makes sense to you. I hope that does. Now see, guys, a recent example of a team picking up their option is that Lexi Hull, the Indiana Fever, actually did exercise their option with her for that fourth year. Same thing with Christy Wallace. All right. So hopefully that is helpful for you. Hopefully that's helpful. All right. Kojo says, see, Kim out here with the high quality questions, getting us high quality answers. Love to see it. I mean, if you guys ask questions, I do apologize. There's sometimes people ask questions and I look back at the stream later and I'm like, oh darn, I missed this question. So I do apologize if I miss your question, but I will do my best to answer them. I would do my best to answer them. So yeah. But guys, we are just in time for the start of the game today, where we're gonna see Diana Taurasi face up against the youngsters, which is gonna be a really fun game. Okay. But yeah, thank you so much, Kim, for asking that question. I think that's a great question that maybe some people didn't know. So yeah, hopefully that's helpful. There's a scale. It's a fixed scale. Nothing can change that scale. It doesn't matter how good the player is or how bad the player is. If they make the roster and they're a rookie, they have to go through that scale. And the only thing that will change that is if the WNBA change or the Players Association changes the CBA. And the CBA is going to be up for renegotiation very, very soon. So we will see the number for the rookie scale go up for sure. But there are some bonuses, just so you all know about. There are some bonuses that players can get. So what I showed you in that graphic was a base salary. And depending on what they are able to do, they can get some bonuses. So if they get Rookie of the Year, they get $5,150 if they win Rookie of the Year. Right? If they're on the all-rookie team, they get $1,500. There's different incentives based off of what players actually do on the basketball court as well. So it's not like the whole thing is like completely fixed. They can make a little bit more money, not a ton more, but a little bit more depending on their actual performance. Okay. So hopefully that makes sense. All right. But thank you so much for that question. That was a fantastic question. I appreciate you asking it. All right, guys. I am logging in to watch the game. All right, guys. Just so you know, here's the starters for both LA and Phoenix. For LA, the starters for today's game is Lexi Brown, Lasia Clarendon, Kia Nurse, De'Erica Hamby, and Cameron Brink. And for the Phoenix Mercury, it is Natasha Cloud, newcomer to the squad. Diana Taurasi, Rebecca Allen, or Beck Allen, also new to the squad. Kalia Copper, also new to the squad. And Bella Marakatete for the starting lineup for the Phoenix Mercury. So a very, very, very different looking starting lineup for the Phoenix Mercury. But yeah, that is the starting lineup. And as the game happens, I will update you all on like cool stuff that happens or like stuff that you all need to know about related to the game. But guys, there will be a point in time where we actually will be able to see this and talk at the same time. But announcement coming very soon on that. Phil says also keep in mind next year the WNBA are going to negotiate a new TV contract, which should increase. That'll increase the contracts for sure. Adrian, thank you so much for the super chat. Really do appreciate that. Says Quita spitting facts. I try. But I really do appreciate y'all for y'all awesome support. I really do. You guys are like freaking phenomenal human beings who have really been rocking with me for a while. And I really do appreciate that. I really do. All right. Aiden says, did you see what Copper was saying about the Mercury practice facility today? Yes. And actually, again, that is a fantastic question. I do want to show that video because I had some thoughts about it after seeing that video. So let me pull that up and we're gonna get into that. Again, great question. We're about to let's talk about that because yeah, I got some serious thoughts. I was tweeting about it earlier. All right, let me share my screen one more time. Let me share my screen. All right. So I'm gonna share a clip of what Kalia Copper said earlier, and I was like, "Yep, another subtle dig at the Chicago Sky." Here's what she said, guys. Here's what she said.
I think you just named it. From an organizational standpoint, I have everything. All I have to worry about is being the best version of myself on the court, and that is all that I should worry about. As you pour into your players, you get what you put in, and I think that's what this organization have done for me.
That's hard to hear.
I don't have to worry about food. That is something that I should not worry about, whether it's before practice or after practice. I know that I'm taken care of. So I think from an athlete standpoint and from where I am in my career, I am so grateful to be a part of an organization like this.
Guys. Y'all heard what she said. she's she said that she shouldn't have to worry about food. And that was something that, I've heard a lot of stuff about the Chicago Sky. Candace Parker talked about not having a locker room, not having a locker that was hers until she joined the Las Vegas Aces. We saw Courtney Williams, who's now with Minnesota, talking about how much she loves the facility and like how much she just really, really is enjoying everything there. And it was another dig on the Chicago Sky, First it was Candace, then it was Courtney Williams, now it's Clea Copper, and like everybody is, everyone's throwing little shots, little strays, on my team. I feel a kind of way. Guys. I put on Twitter after I saw that. I was like, man, the Sky catching strays from so many former players. And now it's now it is a perfect time for the Sky to distract the people with a practice facility announcement, which it should be coming soon. The Sky part owner and chairwoman of the team, she did, Nadia Rollins. She said that that the WNBA the Sky should have a announcement about their practice facility soon. So this was my attempt of like a subtle nudge at the Chicago Sky, like, hey, now's your time. Now's the time to make the announcement about the practice facility. Now is your time. So we'll see whenever they announce that. But yeah, the Sky be catching strays. But guys, there's a difference between the Sky and the Minnesota Lynx, between the Sky and the Phoenix Mercury, the Sky and the Aces. The teams are owned by billionaires, guys. And yes, D Wade is a part owner and whatnot, and yes, they have a pretty sizable ownership group, but they're not billionaires. They're not filthy stinking rich. They don't have the finances to really compete necessarily with the other teams. Though I will say, the Seattle Storm has found a way. They have found a way to compete with some of the other teams. But yeah. Andrew says, can you blame Copper for saying this? No, I don't blame her at all. I as a fan of the Sky, I do feel a type of way that my team is getting astray, but I don't blame her at all for. I think actually it's a good thing for players to say stuff like that. Sure, it's tough to hear, but it's good for players to say stuff like that because, I'd never even thought about the idea of her having to worry about food. Like I heard about the practice facility, I heard about locker rooms, I had never heard nothing about food until just now. And so I think whether or not it's good to hear, it's good for the league overall for players to say stuff like that. Put it out there. Put it out there. So I don't blame her. I don't blame her. BGirl1214 says, also franchises with multiple championships have more money invested in them. Storm, Aces, etc. Yeah, but in the Aces case, it was they were doing that stuff beforehand. But I do get your point, BGirl. I do get your point. Don says pre/post game meals are important. They are. Yeah, nutrition is extremely important for athletes. Extremely. Which is why I just never thought it was a deal with the Sky, but I guess it is. Guess it is. Again, it's tough to hear. I'm pretty sure the Sky management were probably not happy to hear that, but Players got to speak what they've experienced, and the sky will ultimately be fine. Again, I am while everybody or a lot of people sort of talk about the sky and talk about issues and like, oh, they don't have a lot of money, and oh, look at this, look at that, I do believe they're trying. I really do. Like, I maybe naively, but I believe they're trying a lot. And it's gonna take some more money, maybe take additional owners joining the franchise, but I think you have the building blocks. Because the thing I love about the sky is the sky like fits the Chicago ethos. Really does. Oh, guys, if you all are curious, we are at 5 minutes and 22 seconds in to Phoenix versus LA. The score is 6-6. All right, 6-6. But like the sky is a great place to play. Chicago is a great city. Really, really great city. You have lots of amenities nearby. You can go to the beach. You can go to awesome restaurants. You can, go down the Magnificent Mile. There's lots of stuff to do in Chicago. Lots of awesome stuff to do in Chicago. World-class city. You also now have a world-class coach, in my opinion, in Teresa Weatherspoon. You have owners that truly, truly do care. Like, I really do believe that the ownership group for the Chicago Sky care. They don't have a ton of money, but they truly do care about the players. It's a family vibe for the Chicago Sky. It's a family vibe. They don't have, they can't compete with the Billionaires, but they can. They do have heart, and they do care. So I think that's huge positives for the Chicago Sky. And once they get this practice facility, once they announce that, I think the Sky are back in business. I think that truly was the only thing that was holding the Sky back. That's the reason why Skylar Diggins-Smith and Nneka Ogwumike did not come to play for the Chicago Sky. I think it was because of the practice facility. And once they get that all set, because the arena, Wintrust Arena is great. Holds like 10,000 people. It's a great venue for games. I think the location of it is perfect. Lots of positives about Chicago, y'all. Clea Kappa just got a 3-ball. Clea Kappa just got a 3-ball for her new team in Phoenix Mercury. But anyway, there's a lot of positives about the Chicago Sky, and I feel really good about my team. I really do. I'm kind of edging them on to make that announcement about the practice facility, but we got a lot of stuff. We had a lot of really good stuff. We really do. And so I like the I was familiar with quite a few of the Sky owners. I don't actually know them, but I know what they have done. Know some of the businesses that they've created and whatnot. I know about them, and I feel good about the owners of the Chicago Sky. I saw some comments about the Sky selling the team or whatever. I don't think they should. So DeJour says the Sky should look into selling the Chicago Bulls. If you can't afford to compete, you should sell. But they are competing though. See, that's the thing. The Sky won a championship, a couple years ago, right? When you talk about it's not like the Sky aren't doing anything. They have been making investments. The move from Allstate Arena to Wintrust Arena has been huge, guys. It was huge, and I know it costs quite a bit of money, right? I know it does cost a bit of money to be in this new arena, and they're slowly but surely getting stuff together. No, I don't think they should sell at all. I believe in the ownership group of the Chicago Sky. It just takes time, and sometimes it's a little bit too slow. for us, in terms of fans. Sometimes it's a little bit slow, but it'll happen. It'll happen. They'll once they get the practice facility, I think we're good. I think we're good once we get the practice facility. Okay. Carnell says Chicago Sky owners have money. They do have money. They do. Like that. They are millionaires. But my point is, the Phoenix Mercury, the Minnesota Lynx, the New York Liberty, the Las Vegas Aces. These are teams owned by billionaires. So yes, absolutely, they have money. They're filthy, stinking rich, as millionaires, but they don't have a B behind them. And there's another level that teams can get to. The Phoenix Mercury, they have a really, really nice looking practice facility. The Indiana Fever, they have their own practice facility. So there's lots of stuff that you can do when your owners have a B behind their name, because it just means a lot more money that they can spend on your team. But I'm in no way am I saying that the Sky owners are poor. No, they're really, really rich. They're very, very wealthy people. They just don't. Yeah, there's a big difference. Yeah, Kojo, I agree. Yeah, there's levels to this. Millions of dollars is very different than billions of dollars. It just is. Yeah, FM says Griner's in street clothes. Yep. So Brittany Griner and Sophie Cunningham are in street clothes for the Phoenix Mercury. Oh, Khalil Coppage, you got to turn over by Kia Nurse stole the wall. Brittany says millionaires can afford some sandwiches though. I mean, but how do we know that they weren't giving them sandwiches? It could be that they weren't giving her the food that she thought she needed to be eating. You know what I'm saying? Because she said she shouldn't have to be worried about food. She didn't say that they never provided her food. So again, I think there's differences to it, right? So yeah, they could have been offering them food already, but maybe it's not the food that Kalia specifically wanted to eat or something. Like I don't know. So she never specifically said that. She just said she shouldn't have to be worried about food. So that's something that I think want some clarity on a little bit. And guys, the thing to note is that the Sky will be announcing a new practice facility soon. Supposedly it was going to happen before the season starts. The season starts on Wednesday. So if they're going to make that announcement, they have to make it pretty quick. We'll see. Nora says, I just joined, was wondering what new cities are getting WNBA teams. So we talked about it earlier, but as we know, the Bay Area is getting a team. That was already announced, a while ago. And we will see that team launch in 2025, so next season. And then for the oh my goodness, can I talk today? We also talked about Toronto getting a WNBA city, and the idea that they're getting one. It's pretty exciting. It's going to be owned by a billionaire. I think that's how we got to this billionaire conversation. And the awesome part about it is that the owner is very, very hype and excited about it. And this announcement is not official. yet because the WNBA plans on announcing it on the 23rd of May, but it did get released early. So it's happening. It's just going to be an announcement further in the future on the 23rd of May. BJ says, "Who got cut? Enough about the sky." All right, we can move on. We can move on. We can move on. All right. So I do wanna walk through some of the transactions that have happened today. All right, so let's get into the news. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you all can see it a little bit better. All right, so here's the news of what happened. And we're just going to go from today and go and work our way backwards. So the Indiana Fever, they exercised their option for both Lexi Hull and Christy Wallace. We saw Tayana Jackson was waived by the Connecticut Sun. Not a surprise. I thought that was happening. Helena Puyo was also waived by the Sun. Again, not a surprise at all. Taya Reimer, while I like her, I wasn't surprised she did get waived by the Chicago Sky. Leilani Correa was also waived by Chicago Sky. By the Indiana Fever. Maya Caldwell was waived by the Indiana Fever. Khadijah Cave was waived by the Atlanta Dream. We saw Kenesha Lockett being waived by the Minnesota Lynx. They also waived Kiki Jefferson. Again, those two were not a surprise. Ruthie Hebert, I was kind of surprised about that. I was kind of surprised that she got waived by the Minnesota Lynx. I thought she would just eke out a spot, but turns out that is not the case. Honesty Scott Grayson was waived by the Washington Mystics. Not a surprise. Katrina Peretti was waived by the Dallas Wings. Again, in my opinion, not a surprise. Quay Miller was waived by the Seattle Storm. Alana Coates was waived by the Seattle Storm. Kayla Davis was also waived by the Seattle Storm. Again, none of that, in my opinion, was a surprise at all. I feel like we talked about these other ones. Angel Jackson was waived by the Las Vegas Aces. Kalia Hillsman was waived by the Atlanta Dream. Bria Hartley also waived by Vegas. Taylor Mikesell waived by the LA Sparks. Kamaria McDaniel also waived by the Las Vegas Aces. Ashley Wusu was waived by the Dallas Wings. Like going on and on and on and on. In my opinion, none of those were surprises, with the exception of Ruthie Hebert. Like I thought she would just squeak in just by the skin of her teeth, squeak in and make the roster. So I was actually surprised about that one. But for the other players who got cut, while it is unfortunate, players have to get cut. Teams have to get down to 12 teams, 12 players, or in some cases, 11 players due to salary cap space. And it is what it is. It's unfortunate. I do feel really bad for the players who got cut, but that's a part of the WNBA. That's what happens. Players get cut all the time. And that's just a factor. That's just a factor that everyone kind of needs to know about. There will be more cuts. There's still lots of more cuts that have to happen. DeJour says, was Marquisha Davis waived by the New York Liberty yet? No. To my knowledge, she has not been waived by the Liberty. All right. To my knowledge, she has not been waived. All right. Appreciate you asking the question. Or if she was, it just happened because I didn't see anything about it. All right, guys, continuing on. I really do appreciate y'all support. I really do. And guys, if you all want, we can actually transition into going through each team and who's currently on the roster and who I think is actually going to make the roster. Okay. So if you all are interested, we can do that. Oh, thank you so much, Angela. I appreciate that. Angela says, thanks for always keeping us informed. You're awesome. Well, thank you. You're awesome too. You all are freaking awesome. Okay. I can't do this work without you guys just like killing it in the comments, killing it in, in the likes and subscribes and all this other stuff. I'm very, very grateful for you guys. So thank you so much for the support. Kojo says, I'm just gonna say we have 160 viewers, but only 80 likes. Y'all know what to do. Yeah, if y'all get that like button, that'd be fantastic. That would be fan-freaking-tastic. All right. All right, guys. So let's talk about these teams. Because I feel like in general, you guys are going to want to talk about that. All right, so let's talk about the WNBA teams. Let's talk about the rosters and who I am anticipating will actually make the rosters. Okay. All right, so we're gonna go team by team. I'm gonna put the rosters on the screen, and we're just gonna talk about it. Okay. So I hope that is of interest to you guys. All right, let me just pull up. Let me just pull up some teams first. And I think we're gonna start with the Seattle Storm. All right. Actually, no. Let's start with the Atlanta Dream. All right, guys. Let's talk about this, okay? All right, let's start with the Atlanta Dream. Let's talk about the players who are currently on the roster and who I think are going to get cut before the season actually starts. Now, a little bit of a level set of sorts for the Atlanta Dream. So the Atlanta Dream, they did add some new players to their squad this year, including Tina Charles, who is making her return back to the WNBA. They also, had quite a few in terms of South Carolina players on the roster, though some have gotten cut already. But let's sort of walk through the players on the team. A thing to note, guys, is that it does look like the Atlanta Dream are going to be able to have 12 players on their roster. Some teams, due to salary cap stuff, they can't have 12 teams. To me, it does look like they are able to have 12 teams. So I think they will make sure all 12 spots are filled. Last year, they played pretty well. They played very well, actually, last year. They won games that I didn't think they were going to win. You have a leader in Ryan Howard who was just balling out of control. She is phenomenal. You also have, you also add some players like Ariel Powers, Jordan Canada, Tina Charles. And so I think Atlanta is going to be a pretty fun team to watch. And yeah, we're gonna talk about it. Okay, we're gonna talk about this because there's some players on the team that are gonna for sure have to get cut. Okay, there's some players that are for sure gonna get cut. All right, so let's go down the list. Also, a thing to note, guys, is that that the roster currently has a Destiny Henderson on it. Destiny Henderson was waived as of 5 hours ago. She was waived from the team. She's still on the roster on the website. Why exactly? I don't know. But yeah, she is still on the website, though she has been waived. All right. So let's just sort of talk about how many players are on the team. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. And they actually just waived Destiny Henderson. So the way we're at right now, yes, FM Henny was cut. Yeah, Henny was cut. Yep. And because I like to show proof, I don't like to just be saying stuff. I want to show proof. So here's the proof. I'm going to Atlanta Dream's website right now. There you have it right there. It says the Atlanta Dream have waived Destiny Henderson and Khadijah Cave. The organization announced today. Yep. So she was waived. All right, she was waived as of 4 p.m. 4 p.m. Central Time when that was put out there. Okay. So the way the Atlanta Dream is constructed right now, they're actually fine. They don't actually have to cut anybody. But I think what Tanisha Wright's probably going to do is she's going to look at the landscape of who's getting cut from other teams, and she's going to finalize this roster at the last minute. Right now, the players are safe on the squad. But again, it depends on who's getting cut from other teams. Yes, teams are looking to find talent in their training camp. But they're also, good and well, these teams are also looking at other teams to see, how are those bench players playing in the preseason games? And you can bet your bottom dollar that if a player that the Atlanta Dream feels like they need gets cut, they're going to waive one of their players and get that player. Do I anticipate that happening? No. I think it's possible, though. But the way that the Atlanta Dream is currently constructed, there will likely be no more cuts happening. They are now at 12 players with Destiny Henderson getting cut. So I think this is likely going to be. I think this is likely going to be the final roster. If they were going to get rid of a player, I would say it would be Lorella Kubai. But they would have to get another big man if they're going to cut her. I don't think they do, but I think it's a possibility. I feel like that's the only player that could that would go for this team. All right. So that was the Atlanta Dream. Let me know if y'all have any Atlanta Dream specific questions. If not, we can just continue on and talk about some other teams. Let's talk about who do we want to go to next? I want to go to the Indiana Fever. Wow. Y'all, Cameron Brink has 3 fouls right now. Second quarter, 3 fouls. She just got a foul on a moving screen. Yeah, and that was for sure a moving screen. For sure. They just showed the replay. All right, let's talk about the Indiana Fever. Du jour says Mr. President is very upset about Henny getting cut again. Yeah, he's not happy. He's not happy about that. He's not happy. Yep, he's not happy about that. But anyway, continuing on, let's talk about the Indiana Fever. All right. So the Indiana Fever is a new look team. This is a team that looks very, very different than they did last year. They look very, very, very different than last year. and that's a good thing. They're a team that originally came into training camp with a 15-man roster. They do have to get that down to, in total by the deadline. They have to get that down to 12 players on their roster. And, for the first time in a long time, I'm seeing people pay attention to the Indiana Fever. The Indiana Fever was a team that no one truly cared about since the retirement of Tamika Catchings. Tamika Catchings was a player who made Indiana relevant and interesting and exciting. But after she retired as a player, people weren't checking for Indiana. But now you see a lot of stuff about the Indiana Fever. Indiana Fever, they have some really good players. Last year they weren't very good. They weren't very good in the grand scheme of things. But in terms of for Indiana, they were good last year. For their standard, they were good last year. They barely missed the playoffs. Which was a good thing because that got them to get Caitlin Clark, so that was good. But yeah, they're looking to build, and they're looking to find players that sort of supplement the big name players that they already have. Right? You already have Leah Boston, former number 1 pick. You have Caitlin Clark, the current number 1 pick. You have Nalissa Smith, the former number 2 pick. Right? You have Kelsey Mitchell, straight up baller. Like you have lots of talent on the squad, and it's about seeing who sort of complements that and having the decision made from there in terms of who actually makes the roster. You need people who supplement what this team can already do, what the top name players for this team can already do. All right, so let's look at who is currently on the roster for the Indiana Fever. They have Grace Berger, Aaliyah Boston, Caitlin Clark, Damiris Dantas, Timmy Fag Binley, Lexi Hull, Kelsey Mitchell, Katie Lou Samuelson, Victoria Saxton, Nalissa Smith, Celeste Taylor, Christy Wallace, Erica Wheeler. All right, so those are the players on the squad for the Indiana Fever. They do have to cut that down. I believe I talked about this yesterday, but I do believe they're going to cut Victoria Saxton. I think she's a player that is going to get cut from the squad. I mean, a lot of people like Victoria Saxton, but ultimately, I don't think she makes the roster. Ultimately, okay. Anyway, sorry, I got distracted. Oh, Beck Allen just got 3 fouls. Wow. What is guys? What is going on in this game? You got lots of players who are in pretty big foul trouble. Very big foul trouble. That's interesting. Guys, also a thing to note is that they did cut, as I talked about earlier, they did cut Maya Caldwell and Leilani Correa. They did cut those players. So I do think that the final person that they need to cut, that they will cut, is going to be Victoria Saxton. All right, and I think once they get rid of, or I shouldn't say it like that. Once they cut Victoria Saxton, I think they should be good in terms of having enough players. So again, let's just sort of count this out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah. Because yesterday, both Leilani and Maya were on the roster. And yesterday I talked about them cutting 3 players. Now they cut 2 of them already. The last one that will get cut, in my opinion, is Victoria Saxton. So they will be down to 12 players, and they will be good to go. So this will be your final roster, in my opinion, for the Indiana Fever, with the exception of Victoria Saxton. There was a lot of talk about, is Celeste Taylor going to make the roster or not? I do believe Celeste Taylor makes the roster. I believe defensively, she's exactly what they need. And also, she does have an offensive game as well. But really, they're going to need her defense, especially from the guard position. And so I think having her on this team makes a lot of sense. So to me, this is the final roster for the Indiana Fever, with the exception of Victoria Saxton, who in my opinion will get cut. All right, so that is so we just went through two teams. We went through the Atlanta Dream. We went through the Indiana Fever. Let's just stay in the Midwest and let's talk about my Chicago Sky. Okay. All right, let's talk about my Chicago Sky. Because y'all know I got to talk about them, right? Y'all know I got to talk about them. So, the Chicago Sky, they're a team with a lot of new faces, like a lot. Like when I say a lot of new faces, I mean a lot of new faces. From the coach on down, we are a brand new team. We only have 3 players who played like sizable minutes last year on our team. So we have Elizabeth Williams, who returns. You have Dana Evans, who returns. You have Marina Mabry, who returns. I say 3 main players because while Isabella Harrison was on the team last year, she never even played a game because she got hurt in preseason. So that's why I say it's really, technically it's 4, but it's really 3 players returning last year who actually played sizable minutes for the Chicago Sky. So this is a brand spanking new team that we're dealing with. And so a lot of players were invited to camp, and it was about trying to figure out, okay, well, what works? What mix of players are going to work? This team is going to be able to have 12 players on the roster. So financially, that's not a problem for them. And so it's about figuring out who's the right mix of those 12 players that you want on the squad. So currently we have Lindsay Allen, Camila Cardozo, Kennedy Carter, Diamond DeShields, Dana Evans, Kaiser Gondrzik, Isabel Harrison, Marina Mabry, Brenna Maxwell, Michaela Onyenwede, Angel Reese, Brianna Turner, and Elizabeth Williams. So those are the players on the team. Right now, we are 1 over. We have 13 players on the roster. We do have to get that down to 12 players. And so I believe that the player who is going to get cut is Kaiser. I believe Kaiser is going to be the player who gets cut. Yes, Kaiser can shoot. We saw that in the game against the New York Liberty. Kaiser can shoot. She can hit those threes. She can score some basketball. But I think that there is an incentive to keep Brenna Maxwell, who's the 3rd player that the Sky drafted this year. There's an incentive to keep her because if you watch Brenna Maxwell in college for Gonzaga, you know how great of a quick trigger she has. She's one of those players who can roll off a screen and go straight into a 3 and drain it, right? It's hard to do. I think the upsides that she brings is huge, and so I think we're gonna see Kaiser get cut. And they're going to keep Brenna Maxwell. And everything else will stay. So that's my opinion. Thank you so much, Booker B, for the super chat. Says Camilla said she will be back before the 4 to 6 weeks. Oh, she did? Oh, okay. I did see her working with Teaspoon today. I saw her working with Teaspoon today. So we'll see when she's able to come back. But yeah, I think this guy keeps Brenna Maxwell and they get rid of Kaiser. Though I like Kaiser, I really do. I think she has a lot of talent, and I think she's a player who should have a spot in the WNBA. But just the way things are working, the way that there's only 12 spots per team, like it just doesn't look likely that she's going to make the roster, which, you know, is unfortunate, but that's a thing. That's a thing. All right, so talked about the dream, talked about the fever. Who we talking about next? We gonna talk about the Washington Mystics. All right, let's talk about the Washington Mystics. Okay, let's talk about the Mystics. Let me zoom in so y'all can see a little bit better. All right. All right, let's talk about the Washington Mystics. So the Washington Mystics is a team that also is going to look very different last year to this year. The reason being is because two of their best players in Natasha Cloud and Elena Deladon are not with the team. So that is a huge loss for the squad, and that's something that they're going to have to deal with and try to have to figure out like what a pathway forward is for this team. And yeah, something they're going to have to work through, right? I do believe they are able to have all 12 spots. They're able to have all 12 spots filled. So yeah, let's get into it. So let's talk about the Washington Mystics roster. Here's what we have right now. Ariel Atkins, Shakira Austin, Jakia Brown-Turner, Alyssa Cunane, Stephanie Dolson, Aaliyah Edwards, Emily Ensler, Maisha Hines-Allen, Dee Richards, Carly Samuelson, Brittany Sykes, another, wait, who just got sorry guys, I got distracted by the game. Phoenix 42, Sparks 40. Okay, 53 seconds left to go in the quarter. Wow, that was nice. Anyway, I apologize for that. Gonzaga's own Kayleen. Hold on. Okay. Julie Van Loo, Shatori Walker Kimbrough. So right now, they have 13 players on the squad. They do have to drop that down for one player. So I think it's I think this one's going to be kind of hard because there's a player that I want them to keep that I think they probably will cut, but I don't want them to get cut. So here's the deal, guys. Here's the deal. This Washington Mystics team is trying to figure out what is their identity. Who are they? What can they do well? And how will they look going forward? And I think it's likely that they will have to cut Gonzaga's own. They'll have to cut Kayleen Trong. They'll have to cut her. I think she's gonna get cut. I don't want her to get cut. I really want her to make this team, but I don't think she makes it. I think she's the player who gets cut from the squad, and everybody else stays because they just need to cut one player. I think she gets cut. Again, guys, I think she's a good player. I think I think they're gonna cut Kayleen, but But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We will see what happens. Don says, I think Quita is misreading the T. The Sky are playing a minimum of 3 guards / wings on the floor at once, if not 4. They'll be carrying 7 guards / wings. Angel will be playing 30 plus minutes. You're saying that I'm misreading the idea that Kaiser's gonna get cut. I don't think I am, but yeah, we'll see. I am. It is like I've been wrong before, so I think I think we'll see. We will see, but yeah. CAC, sorry, I feel like she's gonna get cut. Again, I hope she doesn't. I really hope she doesn't. But yeah, Kiki Herbert Harrigan is yeah. Kiki Herbert Harrigan. But anyway, speaking of, actually, let's talk about the Phoenix Mercury. All right, let's take a look at we talked about Kiki Herbert Harrigan, or people were talking about her in the chat. She's doing well today. She's doing very well today. Let's talk about the players on the Phoenix Mercury. So let's talk about it. So we have a very brand new, well, not a brand new. We got some added pieces to this team. Quite a few added pieces to this team, and so we gotta talk about it. You of course you return Diana Taurasi and Brittany Griner, but you add some huge players, and we're really gonna see what this team can actually do. So we get Beck Allen, who was previously with the Connecticut Sun, Amy Atwell, Morgan Birch, Natasha Cloud, Kalia Copper, Sophie Cunningham, Brittany Griner, Ariel Hearn, Kiki Herbert Harrigan, Maya Hollingshed, Natasha Mack, Bella Marcatete, Charisma Osborne, Jazz Shelley, Sug Sutton, Diana Taurasi, and Kristen Williams. It's a lot of people on their roster. That's 17 people on their roster. And that means a lot of people got to get cut. That's what that means. That's what that means. That means a lot of people on this roster has to get cut. And let's just sort of talk about who I think is going to get cut. Because this team can only have 11 players. They can only have 11 players on this roster. 11. That's it. The reason why is because you have bloated salaries. Not in terms of the salary cap. You have Diana Taurasi, who has a huge salary. You have Brittany Griner. Takes up a lot. So yeah, we're gonna see a small team. We're gonna see a small team for the Phoenix Mercury. So let's get into it. Let's get into the players who for sure I think are going to stay on the team. Okay. Because it's easier actually to talk about the players who are going to stay on the team than the people who are going to go. Okay, so first, Beck Allen, for sure, staying on the team. Natasha Cloud, for sure, staying on the team. Kalia Copper, yes, staying on the team. Sophie Cunningham, yes. Brittany Griner, yes. Kiki Herbert Harrigan, yes. Bella Marcatete, yes. Jazz Shelley, I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe not. Sug Sutton, yes. Diana Taurasi, yes. There are 2 other players that will make the squad. I think it's probably going to be another sort of power forward type of player, and then another guard. Now, specifically who that is, I am not really sure. I think it's possible that it's between a Morgan Birch or Natasha Mack, who maybe we'll battle it out for a 4 position. But to be honest with you, I am not really sure who the last 2 people really are. It depends. Like, are you going to? It depends on what the strategy is. Like, I think they need to keep one of the rookies. I think they need to keep one of the rookies. Will they? I don't know. I think that's a hard. I think that's the hard part for the Phoenix Mercury, is because they only have 11 roster spots. That's all they have. And so when you're talking about who makes it, I don't know. If it feels kind of tough. And today, I think today is going to tell. At the end of the day, we're gonna know who's gonna make the roster. I mean, the game is still happening, so I think it's still pretty fluid in terms of like who actually is going to make this roster. But yeah, I think it's gonna be tough, because so far, like it's a close one. Is Natasha Mack gonna make the final roster? Possibly. If she can get some points on the board today, and put some good minutes in, it's possible. And then the question is, once you have that other 4, which may be Natasha Mack, now you just need another guard. And I don't know who that guard is going to be. I really don't. I think today is going to decide that. Right? I think today is going to decide that. So yeah, that's my thing. With the Phoenix Mercury, I don't know who that last person is. I don't know who that 11th person is to make the roster. I know for sure it's going to be a guard, but who specifically? I don't know. I feel like it's very tough. And we're gonna have to see the second half of this Phoenix game. I think we're gonna have to see the second half of this Phoenix game to actually be able to know who's gonna make the roster or not. All right. So that is the Phoenix Mercury. Who should we go to next? Who's next? Let's talk about the team that they're playing against, right? We can do that. Yeah, let's talk about the LA Sparks. All right. Talking about the LA Sparks. They are a different team as well. Some new talent on the squad, and we're gonna see what the LA Sparks can do. They still have a relatively newish coach. Kurt Miller was previously with the Connecticut Sun. Now he's with the LA Sparks, trying to build that sort of defensive mentality. But the personnel is very different. The LA Sparks is one of those teams that I find kind of confusing because I don't really know their identity. Their identity used to be forged in the paint with post players. It was Lisa Leslie, then it was Candace Parker, then it was Nneka Ogwumike, and now they're all Nneka's gone. And so it's about trying to create that new identity through, for the most part, through Cameron Brink. And so we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, this is a new team that's trying to figure out what they're going to do in the future. So here are up, guys. My alarm has just went off, guys. All right. Man, guys, time has flown by. Oh my goodness. Time has very, very flown by. All right, let's get through LA, and then I might take like a 30-second break and get some water and then come back. Aiden says, is Kurt Miller a good coach? In my opinion, yes. kind of tired. Okay, anyway, let's continue on. Let's talk about the LA Sparks. So we have Julie Allemon, Monique Billings, Cameron Brink, Lexi Brown, Ray Burrell, Lazy Clarendon, Nia Clouden, Zayat Cook, Blake Dietrich, Mackenzie Forbes, De'Arica Hamby, Rakia Jackson, Ari McDonald, Kia Nurse, Azare Stevens, Stephanie Talbot, Lee Yuru. Similar to the Phoenix Mercury, this team has a lot of players. 17 players to be exact. Quite a few players are on this roster, and there's going to be quite a few cuts that have to be made. The good news about the LA Sparks is that they can have 12 players, I believe. I believe they can have 12 players on their roster. Yes, there's going to be cuts, but there's only 5 cuts that has to be made instead of 6. So that's something. That is something. All right, let's talk about the players who are going to make the roster. All right, so I think it's likely going to be Cameron Brink, of course, Kia Nurse, De'Arica Hamby, Lexi Brown, who I'm very happy to see is healthy this year, Lazy Clarendon, Rakia Jackson, Ari McDonald. I think it's a battle between her and Zaya Cook, and I think Ari's. It's her and Zaya Cook sort of battling it out. I do think Ari makes the squad. I think Lee Yuru also makes the squad. Stephanie Talbot makes the squad. Zaya Cook makes the squad as well. And the question is, who else makes it? Ray Burrell probably makes it. And now I think there's just, Azare Stevens is of course going to be on the team, but she's hurt. She's hurt right now. But ultimately that's where you're going to finish it. That's the 12 players. I think I went through all 12, right? Yeah. Azare Stevens, Ray Burrell, Zaya Cook, Lee Yuru, Stephanie Talbot, Ari McDonald, Rakia Jackson, Lazy Clarendon, Cameron Brink, De'Arica Hamby, Lexi Brown, and Kia Nurse. Yeah, so I think those are the players who are going to make this roster, in my opinion, right now at least. All right, let's continue on. What teams have I missed? Seattle Storm. I don't think we went through the Seattle Storm. All right. So the thing about the Seattle Storm is they're a new look team. Lots of new players on the squad. Lots of key new players on the squad. And guys, because of the quality of players that they have and because of the tenure of the players, that means that they only can have 11 players on the roster. So Seattle is going to have to cut because they can only have 11 players. So that's going to be tough for the squad. But they do have a lot of tenure, a lot of talent on their squad. So I think ultimately they'll be fine. But they can only have 11 players, which is going to be tough for the 12th player who's going to get cut. All right, so here's who they have on the roster right now. Skylar Diggins-Smith, Dulcie Fonkum, Mendeju, Joyner Holmes, Jordan Horston, Jewel Lloyd, Ezzy Magmagor, Jade Melbourne, Nika Mule, Neka Agumake, Mercedes Russell, Victoria Vivians, Sammy Wickham, and Kiana Williams. So they do need to cut 2 players from the roster, and so that's going to be a tough-ish move, and there's going to be a lot of fans who are going to be upset. about this roster. So FM says, why only 11? So here's the deal with the way salary cap works. With the way the salary cap works is players, basically the older players you have, the less likely it is that you're going to be able to have 12 players on your roster. Because older players means more tenure, means more salary that you have to pay them, which means if you have a lot of them on your team, yes, of course, they're very good, but still, if you have a lot of them on your team, that means you're going to hit that salary cap earlier, which means that you cannot likely have 12 players on your roster. So it's a salary cap issue, and unfortunately, that's the result of getting way better, getting players like NECA and Skylar to join your team. Like, that was what brought them over. NECA and Skylar and Jewel Lloyd are getting paid a lot of money. In the grand scheme of things, outside of the WNBA, not a ton. It's going to be more once the CBA gets renegotiated. But in terms of the salary cap, it's a very sizable hit on the salary cap. So that's in 3 players right there, and then you have to pay everybody else. So that means that they're going to have 11 players for the season. So they do have to cut 2 players. Now the question is, okay, well, what 2 players are they going to cut? Like, who's getting cut from this squad? And I will say that you guys may not like the result of who gets cut. But let's just sort of talk about like the people who are for sure going to actually, no, it's actually probably easier to talk about the players who I think are actually going to get cut than the players who are going to actually make the roster. So in terms of who's getting cut, I think it's I think we're gonna see Kiana Williams get cut. I think she's a good player. I think she's a player who can shoot. But I think she gets cut. Again, not great. I think she has some talent. She can be a really good player in the WNBA, but I think it's possible that she will get cut. Now on to another player that I think is possible that they get cut is Jade Melbourne. So Jade Melbourne, it's sort of hard for her because she actually got a concussion, so she's not even with the team right now, and I think that hurts a player trying to make it through training camp if you can't even play because you're on concussion protocol. I think that both Jade and Kiana end up getting cut from this team. I am saying that Nika Mule will make the team. And the reason why is because I think that Seattle sees her as their future point guard once Skylar Diggins is done. And so while in terms of just sheer points, yeah, Kiana Williams can score more points than Nika Mule. But in terms of like the future of the team, like thinking about the Seattle Storm in years in the future, I think they see a future with Nika Mule as their starting point guard eventually in the future. And because of that, I think she stays on the team. So I think she stays on the team. So that's my thoughts. I mean, you guys, there's probably going to be some people who disagree with my opinions about that. But yeah, I do think she stays on the team because of that, because they do see her as the future, even though from a just point scoring perspective, Williams is going to give you more points than Nico will. But overall, I think they see the future, and that's why they're gonna keep her, in my opinion. All right, so we talked about quite a few teams already. Now let's talk about the New York Liberty. I don't think we talked about New York Liberty yet. All right. Francine says Nika can facilitate and defend better than Kiana too. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's true. Donovan says they can't take both Joyner and Vivian's for financial reasons. I'll look into that, because I think if they cut Jade and Kiana, don't they have? I think they just squeak by with the salary cap. But I could be wrong. I'll look into that, Donovan. I'll look into that. All right, let's go to the New York Liberty. All right. Let's talk about the New York Liberty. Okay, so the New York Liberty is another team that has a lot of players, older players getting a sizable amount of the money. So they are only able to have an 11-man roster. Okay, they started off training camp with 18 people on their training camp squad. 18 people. They had to get that down to 11. And they still got a lot more cuts. They got a lot of cuts to do. A lot. So we're gonna talk about it. Okay, this is a team that won the Commissioner's Cup last year. This is a team that was in the finals last year. Almost had a chance to win, but ultimately didn't close it out against the Las Vegas Aces. And now it's sort of now or never. It's like now or never for this team to make something happen. Really. All right, so let's talk about the players who are currently on the team. Okako Quita, Kennedy Burke, Jessica Carter, Marquisha Davis, Ivana Jokic, Leilani Feebach, Brianna Frazier, Rita Sabrina Ionescu, Jonquil Jones, Benaya Jelani Hamilton, Esmery Martinez, Stephanie Mawali, Naria Sabli. I was about to say Satu Sabli. Naria Sabli, her sister, Jalen Sherrod, Brianna Stewart, Kayla Thornton, and Courtney Vandersloot. So this team they have a lot of people who are still on this roster, okay? A lot of people who are still on this roster for this team, and they have to get that. They got to get that number down. Got to get it down to 11. So I think it's gonna be easier for me to talk through the players who I think are gonna make it than it is to talk about the players who I think are gonna get cut. And guys, let me just quickly I need to drink some water. So let me go full screen with this. I'm gonna get some water real quick, and we gonna come right back. Okay, so here's the players who are currently on the roster for this New York Liberty team. All right, let's talk about the players. Let's talk about who's going to actually make the roster, which is it's kind of hard to make this roster because it's a lot of players. So let's talk about the players who are for sure going to make it. Of course, Brianna Stewart, Jonquel Jones, Benijah Laney Hamilton, Sabrina Ionescu, Courtney Vandersloot is going to make the roster. I know there's a lot of conversation about Courtney Vandersloot in the chat. We gonna talk about it. But yeah, I think she makes the roster. Kayla Thornton is going to make the roster. Now here's the thing, guys. As Mary Martinez, I think is going to make it. I think Marquisha Davis makes the roster. I think Marquisha Davis has played very well. In comparison to her teammates, I think she's played very well, and so I do think she deserves a roster spot. And so yeah, there's a lot of talk in the comments about Maureen Johannes. Maureen Johannes is not on the squad. She's not on the squad right now. So yeah. But anyway, let's continue to talk about players who I think are going to make the roster. I think Naria Sabali is going to make the roster. But you know, she didn't dress for the last game. She didn't dress for the Chicago game either. But yeah. So now you just need 2 more players on this team. I think you need a post player and you need another guard-ish player. And in terms of like who are the final 2 players who are actually going to make this roster, here's the thing. Here's the thing, guys. I think it is very possible that I think it's very possible that we see the New York Liberty try to make something happen right before the rosters are final. I think it's very much possible that they wait. I think it's possible that they wait until a day before everything gets finalized and they pick people up off of waivers, and then they cut the rest of the team. Because I can't think of definitive some like the final 2 spots. Like I don't know who they pick, because I feel like this team is kind of screwed. This New York Liberty team is kind of screwed. Like the position that they're in is not a good one. I think they made a severe misstep by not drafting Nika Mule. Severe. Because Courtney Vandersloot is not the same Courtney Vandersloot as she used to be. She's not. And I think it would have made sense to draft a player like Nika Mule and have her sort of work to be in that leadership position as a point guard. They didn't do that. And ultimately that's fine, because Marquisha Davis is really good, and I think for sure she's making the squad because she's shown that she can make some stuff happen. But this team is just, they're in a bad spot. Like what's the exact future for this team? Yes, absolutely. You have a baller in Brianna Stewart. You do. Stewie is fantastic. She is. We talk about Sabrina Ionescu. You know, love her or hate her, she can ball. Jonquel Jones can ball. Benijah Laney Hamilton can ball. But outside of that, it's gonna be hard for this team. So I have 9 players for sure making the squad for the New York Liberty, and the other 2, I don't know, man. I think they're gonna wait for waivers and then see who gets cut and try to go from there. Dev says, at first I didn't see the vision with Jalen, but she should definitely make it. I think Jalen Sherrod has shown them that she can do some damage. You know, she could play some defense. She can. She's persistent. And I think she's shown that she can score. Is that enough to make the final roster? I'm not sure. Like, again, guys, I said I'm pretty solid on 9 players. And, Marquisha Davis is on that 9. Jalen Sherrod is not. I think it is possible that she makes it, but I also think it's very possible that they wait until waivers. And if there's somebody better that they think that comes up on waivers at that guard spot, they're cutting Jalen Sherrod and getting that person off of waivers. So yeah, I'm a little non-committal in terms of the final roster for the. Am I saying Gerard? I thought I was saying Sherrod. Yeah, Jalen Sherrod. Or wait, am I saying that wrong? Or I don't think I was saying it wrong. Anyway. Let's see. Michaela says they're gonna miss Maureen Johannes. Yes, they're already missing her. they're already missing her. Yes, they really are. Aiden says, I think Salute should retire. I agree. And guys, I'm a huge Sloot fan. Huge. I really like Courtney Vandersloot. I think what she's done for the Chicago Sky, I think has been great. But maybe after this year, maybe it's over. Like I think it's important for players to leave before they're like done. But yeah, anyway, those are my thoughts. Those are my thoughts about that. Now, guys, she just didn't come to the U.S. Yeah, she didn't sign with the U.S. team. If she wanted to, the New York Liberty would get them for sure. Larry says their guards can't defend. That's why it probably would have been a good idea to draft Nika Mule, but But anyway, that is the New York Liberty. All right, so I covered a lot of teams already. I'm trying to remember what team I haven't. Connecticut Sun. I haven't done them. Right? Did I talk about them? No, I didn't. I didn't talk about them already. Whoever's keeping track at home, can you tell me what teams I haven't done yet? we have to do the Connecticut Sun right now. But guys, let me know who else I'm missing. Because I got notes and thoughts about everybody. And I have like everybody, because you guys, I'm like, I have it in my head, all the people who I'm like are gonna make it and who's not gonna make it and whatnot. So I just want to get it all out there because I've seen a lot of people asking me who I think is gonna make it on each team, and I just want to be able to just send them this and be like, oh, here's who I think is gonna make it. All right. All right, let's get into it. So this Connecticut Sun team is also a new look team. They have a player or a former player, now coach, in Stephanie White, who is trying to take the reins of this team who has been historically good into a championship winning team. Now, when you look at the Connecticut Sun, they are a team that likely, very, very likely, will also only be able to have 11 players on their squad because they do have a lot of players with a lot of seasons under them. And so, yeah, you're going to likely have a 11-man roster for this Connecticut Sun team going forward. They are a team that they're sort of core in Alyssa Thomas, Dewana Bonner, Brianna Jones, and it's about figuring out who kind of helps supplement that, and who sort of helps to amplify what their core players already do. And that's the question. Who can you get on your final roster to help complement what this team is all about? All right, that's the goal. Is to just complement that core 3 players. Now let's sort of talk about this roster, right? Because again, they do have a lot of new faces on the roster. You have Rachel Banham, Dewana Bonner, Dejanay Kerrigan, Queen Egbo, Tyasha Harris, Mariah Jefferson, Brianna Jones, Tiffany Mitchell, Astu Dufall, Olivia Nelson Adota, Alyssa Thomas, Sydney Weiss, and Jocelyn Willoughby. So 13 players on the squad. They do have to get that down to 10, or not 10. I'm sorry. They have to get that down to 11. And let's sort of talk about the cuts that they're going to have to make, because they're going to have to make two cuts. All right, they have to make 2 cuts, and I think they've already made some cuts already. I think they made some cuts like yesterday or whatever. But yeah, they made some cuts already. They need 2 more down, and let's just sort of talk about who I think is going to get cut. So when we talk about this roster, I think someone who is sort of a bubble player that I think has a potential to get cut is Mariah Jefferson. Mariah Jefferson is out right now. I think she's a good player, but ultimately, I really don't know if they keep her. And the reason why I say that is because yes, she is a point guard, and yes, it would be very helpful to have her on this roster. But this Connecticut Sun team, their point guard is, their point guard is Alyssa Thomas. Alyssa Thomas is basically their point guard. So they don't necessarily need a true point guard. Yes, it would be great to have Mariah Jefferson, absolutely. But I wonder if they decide, you know what, let's just go with Alyssa Thomas, and let's just try to run point by committee. Of course, having a player like Mariah Jefferson would be crucial for them, but I feel like it's possible that they don't keep her. I really do think that's possible, but I don't know. I could be wild on that opinion, but that's my thought right now, is that she possibly gets cut. Another person that I think might actually get cut is possibly a Jocelyn Willoughby. It's sort of like, maybe. But the thing about this team is that from a forward perspective, I think they're pretty solid, right? You got Dejanay Kerrigan, who is going to for sure be the player who is just, Dejanay is gonna have a great. Oh my goodness. I think she's gonna have a good year. And I wonder if you do get rid of a player like a Jocelyn Willoughby, and you see what else can happen. But yeah, I don't know. Those are my thoughts about the Connecticut Sun. Let me know how crazy y'all think my opinions are. But like, yeah, I think it's possible that they wind up just saying forget it about a point guard and getting rid of Mariah Jefferson, and just saying, hey, you know, our point guard is Alyssa Thomas, because Alyssa Thomas is their point guard. Alyssa Thomas is their everything. she really is. She really is their everything. FM says Ty Harris is in. Yeah, I think Ty Harris makes the roster. Yep. And guys, if y'all get that like button, that would be fantastic. That would be absolutely freaking fantastic. All right, thank you. Guys, we're almost down through the list. I'm getting very, very tired. All right, let's talk about the Aces. Let's talk about the Las Vegas Aces. All right, so the Aces, again, have to have 11 players on the roster because of a lot of the financial stuff. This is a team that probably is going to make it back to the finals again this year. So it's as long as they stay healthy, that is. So let's talk about this roster. So here's who they currently have on the roster: Kirsten Bell, Emma Cannon, Alicia Clark, Sydney Colson, Deasia Fair, Chelsea Gray, Megan Gustafson, Kate Martin, Kelsey Plum, Kia Stokes, Asia Wilson, Jackie Young. This team has to make one change. They have to cut one player. And they are good. The question is, who are they cutting? I don't think the. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. Hold on. Wait. Actually, they actually might be able to hold 12 players. Yeah, because actually, never mind. Sorry, I just made everybody afraid. I believe they actually can now because Candace retired. So I think the finances work out. Actually, yes. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do salary cap math in my head, because I had the number before Candace retired. Actually, I think they have enough. Yeah. Sorry. False alarm, guys. Sorry, Francine. Sorry. Okay, so yeah, the Aces, because Candace Parker has retired, I believe they do have the salary cap to hold 12 players. So it's likely that this will be the final roster for the Las Vegas Aces. Again, this is not final. Deasia Fair or Kate Martin could get cut. Is it likely at this point? No. I do think they're going to make the roster ultimately. But we'll see. We'll ultimately see what happens. But yeah, I do think they'll make the roster. So sorry about that. False alarm, guys. The salary cap is in a way where now they should be able to have 12 players on the roster because you don't have Candace Parker on the books anymore. All right, let's continue on. I think I'm missing one more team, and I think I'm done after this. Let's talk about the Dallas Wings. And guys, let me know if am I missing anybody? I think I talked about everybody. After Dallas, is there anybody else I'm missing? All right, if this thing loads. All right, let's talk about the Dallas Wings. The Dallas Wings is a team that is that has a still newest coach, and they're trying to make some stuff work, right? They did come into training camp with 15 players. They can have 12 players on their roster. Or actually, I think they had 16 players actually on their roster at the start of training camp. But yeah, anyway, let's talk about some of the players on their team, and also a thing to note that is very, very important about this Dallas Wings team is that Satu Sabali actually will miss the entire first half of the season due to a shoulder injury that she has. So huge loss for the squad. But yeah, Satu Sabali will be missing the first half of the season due to injury. Also, something to note. So here are the players on their team. You have Kalani Brown, Jaylen Brown, Veronica Burton, Natasha Howard, Lou Lopez Sinisal, Tierra McCowan, Enrique Ogumbawale, Satu Sabali, J.C. Sheldon, Maddie Segrist, Stephanie Soares, and Svigi Unen. I forgot how to pronounce her name. My apologies on that. So 13 players on the roster. You have to cut that down. You got to cut that down to 12 players. And so the question is, okay, well, what players ultimately do you have on this roster? So the tough part about this Dallas team is that they only had one preseason game. So that's all we really have to work off of. And it's sort of hard for me to really say who's going to make this roster. And the reason why I think it's hard to say is because, Lou Lopez Sinisal didn't play in that first and only game for Dallas. And so for me, Dallas is a little bit, I don't know who ultimately makes the team. They have to cut one player, and I think, and I think the player that they end up cutting is either going to be Sevgi Unen or Lou Lopez Sinisal. It's one of those players who are going to get cut. It's hard to truly say because Lou Lopez Sinisal did not play in that one and only game. So it's between them two. It's between them two who are going to get cut, in my opinion, and I think ultimately we'll see. But yeah, that's sort of my thoughts on that. It's between two players who are going to get cut, two guards that are going to get cut, and so I'm not quite sure because again, with both Vegas and Dallas. Well, Vegas technically doesn't even have a real preseason game because they're playing against Puerto Rico, not another WNBA team. And Dallas only played one game. Chelsea says, is Lou still injured? I think technically she's off the injury list. She was labeled as a did not play for the game against Indiana. So for that Indiana game, I think she was able to play, but they just didn't play her. I think. I feel like I'm right on that, but I'll fact check myself and see what's going on with her. Actually, let me just fact check myself real quick. I want to make sure I'm not spreading any misinformation. Yeah, I don't see any still injury news. So I think she's good. I think she's healthy. Hufflepuff United says, I love that name, says, will teams be making roster cuts over the weekend? Likely, yeah. They likely will be making cuts over the weekend. Yep. All right, so let's talk about the Minnesota Lynx. I think that might be the last team. I think that might be the last thing we need to talk about, and then I think we're done. All right. All right, let's talk about the Minnesota Lynx. Let's talk about Minnesota Lynx and who's on their roster. All right, so we have Bridget Carlton, Nafisa Collier, Natisha Heidemann, Dorka Juhas, Sika Kone, Kayla McBride, Diamond Miller, Alyssa Peely, Alana Smith, Taylor Soule, Cameron Taylor, Kayana Traylor, Courtney Williams, Cecilia Zandalasini, there we go, Olivia Espolpa, I believe that's how you pronounce it. But anyway, they have 3 cuts they need to make, and here is who I think is actually going to make the final roster for this squad. And Sean Murphy Bunting is at the Phoenix game. That's cool. I just heard an announcement about it in my ear. In my ear, I have the game on, so I just heard it. All right. Let's talk about the Minnesota Lynx. So, I think that this squad is looking to get small, right? Because we saw them cut. They recently announced that they cut Ruthie Hubert from the squad, and to me that makes it be like, oh man, no one's really safe on this squad. No one is really safe on this squad in terms of who's actually gonna make the team. Aiden says Kobe White was at the Sky game. Yep, I saw him. Yep, he was there. And then the Bears the Bears 3 draft picks from this year's draft, they were all there, including our new QB1 was at the Sky game. Yep. It's good to see athletes supporting other athletes. I think that's pretty good to see. All right, let's talk about the players who are gonna get cut. I think Kayana Traylor, I want her to make the roster, but I don't think she makes the roster. I want her to. I don't think she makes it. All right. Another player that I think is going to have a tough time making it is Cameron Taylor. I think she's gonna have a tough time making the squad also. Ultimately, we will see if she actually makes it. And then after that, to me, it's between 2 players. It's between likely. I think it depends on how the Minnesota Lynx want to go forward. Do they want to go shorter and keep somebody like Olivia Epopa, or I forgot how, Olivia E. Do you keep somebody like that, or do you keep a player like a Taylor Soule who has a huge amount of potential, but just hasn't really gotten that opportunity in the W? Who do you go for? I think that's the question. For this Minnesota Lynx team, who do you go for? But yeah, that's sort of my thoughts on that. I don't know. I don't know who they wind up keeping. Yeah, I think that's the hard part. I think that's the hard part for them. It's like who ultimately who do you keep? I would probably say Taylor Soule stays and Olivia gets cut. So it'd be Celeste, or not Celeste. It'd be Kiana Traylor, Cameron Taylor, and Olivia who gets cut, I think. But we'll see. Ultimately, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But anyway, guys, that is the long video. That is the stream. I think I am done after this. That was sort of my thoughts about some of the players who I think are going to make the roster and some players who I don't think is going to make the roster. Ultimately, we don't know. We won't know until it becomes official. All right. And again, guys, I do want to make sure you all are aware of this. Here's the date that you all need to know, right? This is the date. Okay. Final regular season cut down happens on May 13th. The regular season begins on May 14th. So that's when we'll know. May 13th is when we'll know what is happening in terms of who is actually going to make the roster. Okay. So hopefully this was helpful. If it was, please hit that like button. That would be absolutely, positively, freaking fantastic. Thank you in advance for that. Hit that like button on y'all way out. Hit that subscribe button if you have not subscribed to the channel already. And guys, let people know that we on this channel. We doing the stuff that you don't see a lot of people do. A lot of people, yeah, sure, they're gonna go through teams and they're gonna talk about the main teams, and that's pretty much gonna be it. But we just went through every single team in the WNBA, and I let you all know who I thought was gonna make the roster. All right, so and I sort of tried to give you all a little bit of information about each team. If you all appreciated that, let somebody else know that I did this so they could check this video out for themselves. All right, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Have a fantastic weekend, guys. I will be back right here with some awesome content on Sunday. And yeah, hopefully you all will look out for that. Also, me and my mom will be making some videos in the coming future. She's very excited about it. So we're going to be making some great content. I have some announcements I'll be announcing on the channel very, very soon. So I hope you all are excited about that. The folks on Patreon got the first glimpse of it, and it's pretty exciting, I think. So I can't wait for you all to engage with me on that. Anyway, guys, I appreciate y'all. Have a fantastic night. And until next time, guys, bye, y'all.